Hello, guys. I hope you're having a great day today. So, I want to, just share with you something I've learned, right? The id, the ego, and the superego, right? It is basically the mind, you see, how our mind works. So, what I want you to, to picture first, right, is the iceberg, right? We have the tip of the iceberg, which we can see, and we have the bottom of the iceberg, right, which you can't see, which is completely submerged in water, and it's way bigger than the conscious mind, right? So our mind has three parts: the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious, right? The unconscious is basically something that we cannot um, have, that we cannot see. So it has we have no control over it, you see. We have no control over our unconscious mind, nor are we aware that of the unconscious mind, you see. We're not aware of it, you see, but it is there. So and then there's the subconscious mind, right, which is the part of the iceberg which is just above the water and just below the water, you see. So it is where it is, you see, it is where we are conscious of it, like we are like no like we are conscious of it, that we know it's there, that we are aware of it, yes, but we can't control it, you see, at least not directly. But the conscious mind, right, the iceberg, the one we can't see, is the one is the one that we have complete control over, right, the conscious mind. And we are well aware of what we're doing and what we're thinking and what we're saying, you see. So just like I am aware that I'm talking to to you guys on this phone of mine, right, looking at myself. So um for my YouTube channel, so yes, that's my conscious mind. So my unconscious, my subconscious mind, right, is like is saying that okay, so I know, you know I can't think of an example, actually, like all I care about right now is what I'm doing, you see. So the subconscious mind is the belief system that we have, right? It's called the superego. The conscious mind, right, is the ego, and the unconscious mind is called the id, right? So let us start with the unconscious mind, the id. The unconscious mind, the id, right? The ID is what we is the part of our mind that is very unconscious, which is the natural part of us, you see, that comes with being human. You see, we humans are animals, but we are very intelligent animals, you see. So please do not take offense if anyone calls you an animal, you see, anymore. So because it is basically, those people, right, think that being an animal means being undisciplined and all of that stuff. Wow, because we're all undisciplined in some areas. Anyways, the because if they're calling you an animal, that means they're insulting themselves too. So basically, the id is the instinctive, primitive, and animalistic parts of us, right? That we have needs like hunger, right, like sleep, and then we have emotions like anger, love, happiness, and we also have the tendency to um, satisfy our boredom with fun, you see, because hey, nobody likes being bored, eh? And then there's finally libido, which is sexual desire. These things are natural and they will pop up, right? one in some in one point or another. Yes. So the reason this is important is because you know these are very natural things and they will pop up. You see. So thing is that if they, because usually people are ashamed of being having sexual urges, right, or being hungry at the wrong time. You see, all of these things. Please don't do that because that's the super ego talking. So, which is the belief systems that we feel like we should do, we should, we should live up to, right? The superego is, the representative of all the beliefs that you grew up believing. You see, so let's say that like like you grew up believe like these beliefs could be either could be political, could be social, or religious, all of these things. Everyone has a different, belief system. So let's take gender for example. A man, right, grew up believing that he should be strong, he should be emotionally, strong, which means that you should not react to anything. Crying is for the weak, anger is for the weak, all that stuff. So it's all of these beliefs that he grew up believing. You see, he should provide for his family, make money, all of that stuff. And then when he doesn't do even one of these things, right, he feels guilty. He really feels like he's failed, right? But when he does, then he feels like a man, right? But so the super ego it creates an ego ideal, which is to become the alpha male, or maybe if you're a female, is to become an independent woman. If you're a Christian, it means you want to be holy, right? Live according to Scripture, and or maybe just to become holy, is become holier than thou, more righteous than everyone else. Because if you when because people measure themselves with everyone so that they can reach their ego ideal. If you are a academic, right? You want to be the one who succeeds in school the most, the one who gets straight A's in everything, or at least in most things, right? Basically, being the A students. That's the ego ideal, right? So the super ego has these beliefs, right? That you grew up believing with, right? It takes those beliefs and says that you should abide by it, right? So that you can reach the ego ideal, right? So let's go back to that example of being a man. The id, the unconscious mind, always is always going to be triggered by something, right? So it's always going to pop up, right? Whether the super ego likes it or not. So um let's say the sexual desire, right? You have sexual desires. So so your sexual desire means that you want to have sex, right? The id wants to have the sexual desire in the id wants to have sex. So or it wants to like release itself because it's gone too long without sexual gratification, right? And that's the thing about the id. It wants to be gratified, right? These things like hunger, like say you're craving a McDonald's, or or KFC, or maybe you want to sleep now, you want to watch that YouTube video now. You see, it wants these cravings now. You see, so that this is called instant gratification, right? So but then as a man, right, you want to but you want to like fulfill your purpose, right? You don't want to be controlled by lust, which is what you call the sexual desire in the id. So you kind of believe that having this id is wrong. This part of the id is wrong. You see, because you're feeling something. So this is just unfair, you see, on yourself. But we'll just get to that later. So let's move on to so that means that you have sexual desires that you feel like you know aren't, you feel like are wrong for having, because you feel like you are, kind of like, what's this word, objectifying women. You see, you don't want to be seen as a man that disrespects women. So you kind of like suppress those needs into that, you just suppress those thoughts, right, of wanting to have sex into your mind, and you internalize all these manosphere red pill guys that say that you should stay away from pornography because it makes you a simp and all that stuff, you see. So you've internalized that having sex, having sexual desires is a bad thing, you see. The same goes with Christians, right? Until, we have these, restrictions that we have until, like no sex until marriage, right? So, and until then, like, according to certain beliefs, right, you feel like, watching porn is sin, and so you suppress those, the very natural sexual desire that you have. So that's the super ego has these, limits and, ideals that you should strive towards, so that you can reach the ego ideal, right? So let's take another example, right? So let's say that you are hurt, right? And you as a man are hurt, and you have, these set you know and you want to cry, especially in front of a woman. So but then your super ego tells you, no, it's wrong to cry in front of a woman. You can't cry in front of a woman. How are you supposed to become an alpha if you do not if you're going to act like a kid all the time? But crying is very natural for anyone in any age, you see. So, and also, for me personally, I believe that crying is the best medicine that you can take when you're like that, when when you're really upset, you see, because it heals fast. When you're done crying, you feel relieved, right? All those, because when you cry, you're crying out your emotions, you see. You are emptying your heart of those emotions, and then it comes out through your eyes. So that is what I believe. And so, but then society tells us that, men should not cry, it's weak and all that. You don't want to be seen as weak. So, and then, that, you've seen in the real world that, how men are treated when, they cry. So you don't want that to happen to you too. The super ego takes this and say, yeah, you should become an alpha male. So yes, and it's, so, and if, yeah, and so, yeah, even, those who make less money than their wives or their girlfriends, right? They say, no, no, no. The super ego makes them feel guilty for not making, for it makes the man feel guilty for not making money, because it does not reach the, alpha male ego ideal, you see. So the man feels ashamed of himself, and maybe even angry at the woman. So, that's a super. But then when these things are satisfied, let's say they're all satisfied, you stay away from sex, you do not cry and all of that stuff. You feel like you're reaching your ego ideal, right? Which is becoming an alpha male. So it makes you believe that you have these. You have reached it, right? You say, oh, I'm an alpha male. I'm the top G, like Andrew Tate, right? I think he has this ego ideal. So that is where people, say this is the ego talking, right? The sheer arrogance that you have, that where you're like, you feel like you are more important than you actually are, because you have reached these things. You look down on those who haven't reached your ego ideal, you see. And you become arrogant, you see. So the super ego makes you arrogant when it ain't checked. And this is where the ego comes in, which is the which is you, right? The conscious mind. The conscious mind that is the mediator, right, and the moderator too. It is you making choices, making decisions. So you, so the ego, right? Listen, is that but a humble servant. You see, it is not. It's not arrogant. You see, the super ego creates arrogance when when the ego ideal is reached. You see, it creates arrogance, but the ego, right, is actually the humble servant. It is you make the decision maker. It is a humble servant because it listens to the demands of the real world, the unconscious, the id, and the subconscious, the superego. So, um, so it kind of like has to make compromises, right? Or just chooses to, obey this and disobeys the other, or just like kind of like connects the two, connects the ego with the super ego with the id. So the ego is the bridge between the subconscious and the unconscious. You see, let's say that you're a Christian, right? Your superego tells you that you should be, you should, stay far away from sex, right? Because it is against the Bible, or maybe or is against what you grew up believing as a Christian. You see, but your sexual desires say no. We want sex. So, but then the ego, right, listens to the outside world saying, but sex is a normal thing, and sex is just a normal thing. The problem is you should learn. You should not do it at the wrong time. You see, or without consent. You should do it consensually with another person. So the ego says, all right, look, I I know that super ego wants to reach the ideal of a perfect Christian, but we're human. We're never going to be perfect. Christians are sinners. And so, what you should do is, instead of just giving up Christian, rules altogether, we should accept that, you know, you should, accept that sex is a normal part of life, just like the id there. Just like, because it is human. We are humans after all. And the id, the sexual desire, you know, really wants the sex, you see? So, what we should do is live according to scripture, so that when God finally gives us a wife, then we can have the sex we want, you see, just this. But so that goes for you, id, the sexual desire down there says that we want sex. Wait until I have find us a woman, right, so that so you can both be satisfied. You see, it is basically the middleman of these things. You see, the ego is but a humble servant. It is the advisor. So is so yes. Um, so that is the id, the ego, and the super ego. You should not be ashamed for having the feelings of guilt, or no, it's no, the feelings of anger or hunger, or or even sadness, right? It's okay for men to cry, and it is okay for Christians to have sexual desire. But if you really believe that, but if you really value the beliefs, you see, that the superego has absorbed all this time, then you should try to be the middleman, right? You, the conscious mind, the ego, should be the middleman and make peace between the two, right? You should compromise so that you can, it's just like the example I showed you, right? So, as a man, you should compromise that, you should tell your super ego, right, that it's okay for men to cry because we are human, right? That you should allow yourself to cry. The id is hurt. The id is indicating that you've been hurt. You see, but do not give up on love altogether. Do Please hold on to your, masculine traits, you see, because you should, sooner or later, right? The crying, right, is basically a release, right, of your hurt. Not as like some kind of expression where you cry just about anything, because sooner or later you're gonna have to, practice self-control. You see, it does not mean you should, block out or think of your natural desires as bad, because except that they are natural. You see, do not think of them as bad, but please control, so that, because you should learn to control. That's the ego. Control the id, your natural desires, because sometimes they do get in the way of your dreams, or of your ego ideal. And the ego ideal should never be arrogant, you see, because it has to accept that, there is no perfection. What it should do, however, is be the best man, is to make you be the best man you can be. And it has to make be the best Christian you can be the best A student you can be the best woman you can be. There is no ideal, perfect image, because you should be, you should be humble enough to accept to be willing to roll with the punches. You see, the best version of yourself can change. Be So your new ego ideal is to be is to be the best man you can be for now, because once you have reached that part, there's the next level. You see, there is no end goal. That's all right. That is what I've learned, right? And please, like, don't forget to comment. If you like this video, please, like, you know what to do. Hit the thumbs up button down there, comment, and share your thoughts down there, and please subscribe to my channel. Seriously though, subscribe to my channel, please. All right, cheers.